Hello, everyone. My name is Neha Shah, and I'm a registered dietitian. I'd like to welcome all of you to our webinar today on how to safely choose and attend summer camps with celiac disease, led by Molly Stone and Jennifer Escall from Camp Celiac. Summer camps offer wonderful opportunities to connect with nature, enjoy skill building activities, and make lasting friendships. So it is crucial that meals at camps are enjoyable while accommodating diverse needs for diet, including the gluten-free diet. Molly and Jennifer have invaluable information to share with all of you today to help navigate the process. From there, I will hand it over to Molly and Jennifer.
Hi, everyone. My name is Molly Duncan Stone. I'm a nurse, but I'm also the director of Camp Celiac. I actually started out as a camper way back in 2007 when in our first summer at Camp Celiac, and I took over as director in 2019, and this will be my 18th summer at Camp Celiac, which starts in just 2.5 weeks.
And hi, everyone. Thank you, Neha and Molly. My name is Jennifer Iskel, and I'm the president of the Celiac Community Foundation of Northern California, an all-volunteer nonprofit organization that administers Camp Celiac. I've been involved with Camp Celiac since its founding in 2007. And a bit more about Camp Celiac, since we use it as an example in this presentation. It takes place for a week every summer at Camp Arroyo in the foothills of Livermore, California. The Taylor Family Foundation is our partner and very generously provides the facility, some of the staff, and some of the food. Camp Celiac is free to attend with a $25 registration fee, thanks to the Taylor Family Foundation, as well as individual donations and companies that donate gluten-free food. Registration begins every February, after which we usually have a waiting list. Campers from the 48 counties of Northern California have priority. Capacity is limited and it's full for this summer. So it's good to know about other camps, and we are happy to share our knowledge and experience. So when we say Camp Celiac, we are referring in this presentation to our camp in Livermore, but the name is shared with a number of other camps in various ways. We are independent. In choosing a camp, you'll need to consider whether you want a dedicated gluten-free camp or a regular camp that can accommodate kids with celiac disease. We offer tips for both. In this webinar, we don't address day camps specifically, but a lot of the same information applies to both overnight and day camps. Okay, so why attend a celiac camp? Obviously, food safety is the first one. Many summer camps still cannot safely and fully accommodate a strict medically prescribed gluten-free diet. Second, camaraderie and friendship. The kids make friends who face the same challenges, and they love not having to explain everything, and they love to be able to eat everything without having to question whether it is gluten-free. Mental health benefits. While there is not a lot of research on this topic, a UC San Francisco study in 2010 and another study in 2020 found that attending a celiac camp increased quality of life and reduced stress for kids with celiac disease. Year-round and long-term support. Even though most celiac camps last only a few days or a week, the experience can provide long-term friendships and a sense of community and belonging and support that help participants through challenges the rest of the year and even throughout childhood and young adulthood if they keep attending and participating in some capacity, not necessarily every year, but on and off sometimes. And finally, leadership experience. Many camps give participants the opportunity to apply to become junior counselors, also known as counselors in training, and then counselors when they are 18 and over. At Camp Celiac, many of our campers come back year after year and rise through the ranks to become junior counselors, and quite a few become adult counselors. One former camper became the camp director, and that's Molly. Young adults look forward to camp as much as the kids. Actually, all the adults do. Okay, the basic checklist for choosing a camp. So when considering a camp, make sure it meets your family's needs in these fundamental ways. The location, where is the camp located? And is that convenient for your family? Is the environment appealing to your child? And is the facility in good condition from what you can tell? What is the history of the camp? How long has it been around? And what reviews or third-party information can you find about it? Is it affiliated with a celiac disease group or organization? What is the staff ratio? How well will your child be supervised? So at Camp Celiac, for example, we have 12 cabins organized by age and gender, and each cabin contains 8 campers, 1 or 2 junior counselors, and 2 adult counselors. So that may seem like a pretty high staff ratio, 8 campers and 4 staff members, but counselors have responsibilities in addition to camper supervision. And it is exhausting 24-hour work, as some children need attention in the middle of the night. So the staff need breaks. In addition, it is camp policy that children are always with a minimum of 2 staff members at all times. Size. Does your child prefer an environment with a lot of people and activity or a smaller, lower key experience? Larger camps may have more availability, so that's another factor to consider. Cost. What is the cost of registering and attending, including any supplies you might need to buy? Are there scholarships, and is your child available? Is your child eligible for them? Refund policy. So if your child needs to cancel for any reason, such as an illness or change in plans, what is the refund policy? On the flip side, if the camp itself needs to cancel for any reason, for example, wildfire smoke or a problem with the facilities, such as water or power, are participants at least partially reimbursed? Program activities. Camps should be able to describe their general daily programming and have photos from past camps. For example, Camp Celiac includes swimming, a ropes course, climbing wall, an art yurt, archery, skit night, talent night, a dance with a DJ and photo booth, singing and dancing all the time after every meal, and a campfire night with s'mores. Other camps may have quite different programming and traditions, and some may have things like field trips. And last but not least are the dates. Do the dates meet your family's needs? And a few more checklist items you may not have thought of immediately is siblings. Does the camp allow siblings to attend who don't have celiac disease? Does this affect your family's summer plans? At Camp Celiac, for example, we do not have the space to accept siblings who do not have celiac disease. Gender accommodation. Does the camp accommodate non-binary and transgender children? If so, what does the accommodation look like? What are the sleeping arrangements and daytime groupings? Do these arrangements meet the campers' needs? Are staff trained to be sensitive to the needs of the campers? And at Camp Celiac, our accommodation policies are evolving over time based on the needs of our camp population. But these can be very complex topics for staff, parents, and participants. Cell phones. Does the camp allow campers to have a cell phone? At Camp Celiac, we have a strict no phones policy, so the children are fully engaged. The campers do not have a problem with this policy, although surprisingly, some parents find it a challenge to get used to not having constant communication with their kids. Photos and videos are not allowed except by designated staff members. Adult staff, of course, have both cell phones and they have walkie-talkies for safety, programming, and administration. Updates for parents. During camp, does the staff email any updates or post updates on social media? Particularly for parents of first-time or younger campers, this can be very important and alleviate concerns about how camp is going. At Camp Celiac, we post updates on our Facebook and Instagram accounts. Homesickness. If a child is feeling homesick or anxious, how does the staff address that? At Camp Celiac, for example, staff try to soothe the child in a variety of ways. If that is not enough, staff reach out to parents and either have them speak to the child or, much more rarely, pick them up to go home early. Staff selection and background checks. You can ask how staff are selected. At our camp, all adult staff fill out an application and are carefully selected by leadership. They are required to be fingerprinted for a standard background check for everyone who will be at camp and who is over 18 and over. Staff training. You may wish to ask how staff are trained. Many of our staff, for example, have been with us for years, but everyone, all junior counselors, and other staff go through an annual orientation and training the day before the campers arrive. The training includes not only how to run the camp and supervise campers, but topics like bullying, sexual harassment, and mandatory reporting of suspected child abuse and neglect. Now I'm going to turn it back over to Molly to discuss important medical and food topics.
Okay, so some questions that are important to ask the medical staff at any summer camp that your child might be attending. What is the on-site medical staff like? This varies from camp to camp. At our camp, at Camp Celiac, we always have at least one medical doctor and at least one other licensed medical professional on site at all times. Usually it's a physician and a nurse practitioner. I'm also a nurse, so I'm on site as a nurse, and we have various other medical professionals under our staff. Our archery director is a firefighter paramedic. We have a lot of staff who are EMTs and a lot of staff who are in medical school. A lot of these kids are just kind of drawn to the medical profession. And so there's always someone there to take care of any sort of medical emergency or medical issue that might come up during the week. Medications and supplements. A lot of kids are on medications. And so at Camp Celiac, campers turn in all their prescribed medications with the medical staff upon check-in. And then our medical staff give the campers medications, either scheduled or as needed medications. Campers may not keep medications with them. That's for safety. It just allows better continuity of care, and so that the medical staff is aware of every medication that the campers are taking. Emergency plans, find out what the camp has planned in case of emergency, and that necessarily isn't just a medical emergency, but wildfire emergencies, campers going missing, anything that could possibly come up as emergency. The camp should have a large file of emergency plans and be able to access that at a drop of a hat in case of emergency. Sick policy is super important, especially with kids with chronic illnesses. When campers develop symptoms or get even like a minor illness or injury at camp, it's important to know kind of how that is processed. So at Camp Celiac, they're seen by our camp doctor or camp nurse. They're going to be treated for whatever the injury or illness might be. And then parents must be available to come pick up their campers if they are sick, if they test positive for COVID, or if the medical staff thinks that they potentially might have a communicable disease, then the parents are going to be required to pick up their campers within hours. Now it's 2024. It's important to talk about COVID vaccinations at Camp Celiac. All our staff are required to be vaccinated and boosted against COVID. It's now optional for our campers to be vaccinated, but that is due to the fact that in the county where the Taylor Family Foundation camp is, that's the county's policy for kids in K through 12, so we go by the county regulations. The COVID policy of every camp is going to be different. At Camp Celiac, everyone's required to be vaccinated, as I said, but then when everyone comes to camp, they're going to be swabbed by one of our camp staff to test for COVID. And then if anyone develops symptoms, they'll be swabbed. And then if, more people develop symptoms, we'll end up testing more and more people and decide on the quarantine status based on kind of the outbreak. at the camp, but all parents are required to be reachable by cell phone. They can't go on a cruise or something to go get away while their kids are at camp for the week. So that's kind of a important policy to be aware of if you're signing your kid up for a camp, is in case of emergency and I need to come pick up my camp, what's the policy? What's the camp's requirement for me to be at camp within a certain amount of time? So questions to ask if your child is attending 100% gluten-free camp, like Camp Celiac. So most, if not all, dedicated gluten-free camps are not going to be at a dedicated 100% gluten-free facility. Just like Camp Celiac is, we use the Taylor Family Foundation's Camp Arroyo, which hosts camps year-round for kids with chronic and terminal illnesses, and it hosts camps that are not gluten-free. They are a 100% nut-free facility, but they are not a 100% gluten-free facility. So it's important to kind of make sure you know the camp's policy and what their procedures are for cleaning the kitchen prior to the gluten-free camps coming in. So at Camp Celiac, the kitchen is closed for 24 hours between when the camp before ours leaves and when we arrive, when our campers arrive. They spend those 24 hours what's called burning the kitchen. They clean everything at high degree with soap and water, cleaning off every sort of, speck of gluten that's possible. And then the kitchen is then cleaned again before they cook for us. And then this cleaning is overseen by the director of the kitchen staff, whose name is Mario, and he's been with the Taylor Family Foundation and Camp Celiac since before Camp Celiac even started at Camp Arroyo. So he's very familiar with how sensitive our campers are and the implications of running 100% gluten-free kitchen. And then another question to ask is, how is gluten-free safety maintained during camp? Do they restrict the staff from bringing any gluten to camp? Do they restrict the amount of snacks that come in? How do they read labels? How do they check labels? Kind of how is that process? Every camp is going to have a different process. And then how are the products chosen? Who's choosing these products? Who's reading the labels? Who's checking the labels? And so for us, it's the Camp Celiac staff that are choosing the products, reading the labels, going through the menu, not the kitchen staff themselves. So do they allow products in shared facilities? Do they allow gluten-free oats to come in? There's all kind of things that you need to speak with the facilitators of the camp, depending on what your child is able to consume. And then are other dietary restrictions allowed and accommodated? So at Camp Celiac, we are 100% gluten-free facility. We're 100% nut-free facility, and we do offer dairy-free for our campers. Unfortunately, we cannot accommodate any other allergens or dietary preferences. It's just too hard for the kitchen to feed that many kids with different allergies. We do offer vegetarian options at most meals, but it may not be a vegetarian large meal. Like it might be going to the sandwich bar, going to the salad bar. It's not going to be like a vegan hamburger patty on the day that we're going to have hamburgers. And you just need to ask, especially if your kid has other allergens or dietary restrictions, make sure that there are enough options for your camper and the kitchen is able to accommodate those additional needs. Just because it is a gluten-free camp doesn't necessarily mean that it's a gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, corn-free type camp. So it's important to kind of discuss with them beforehand. And then if you're sending your kid to a non-gluten-free camp, it's totally doable to send your kid to a 100% gluten-free camp. And these camps are becoming better at accommodating kids who need a gluten-free diet. But it is important to ask these questions before you even sign your kid up for a sleepaway summer camp, whether it's a kids only or if it's a family camp. So ask about the accommodations, policies, and procedures, kind of going back to what we were talking about at the 100% gluten-free camp. But more importantly, if it is not 100% gluten-free, they should be able to provide details that indicate if they're knowledgeable about how they're able to provide safe and gluten-free food for your child. Ask how many campers are gluten-free. If it's a camp that says they're able to accommodate kids who have celiac disease, are 20 kids gluten-free, or is your kid going to be the only one that's gluten-free? Because that can also determine kind of how many options there are for your kid to have, what kind of food options that your child has. Because if they're serving a ton of different kids who have celiac disease, and they're probably going to spend more time on that food versus if it's only one camper that's gluten-free. And then cross contact, super important. Cross contact, do they have a separate prep space in the kitchen for gluten-free food? Do they understand cross contact and how to safely prepare gluten-free food in a shared kitchen? That's all stuff you're going to need to know before you even sign up your camper. And then food products, are there snacks available if your camper doesn't feel safe with what's provided for each meal? Or are they going to have to eat the meals that are provided to them? Are there options for different products? Are you able to talk to the kitchen staff beforehand and suggest products that are like, good protein bars or good snacks that your kid is gonna like if there aren't safe options at meals? And then again, other dietary restrictions. Is your camper, if they have other dietary restrictions, are they able to accommodate those? And then is your camper able to bring food from outside? This is especially important if it's not 100% gluten-free camp. Say you have products that your camper really likes, your child really likes, and they're going to want to have those foods with them for snacks in case there aren't a ton of gluten-free options. Ask that before camp even starts and make a plan to say like, hey, my camper wants to have this specific food stored in the kitchen so that if there's not a meal that they can eat, they still have enough nutritious, healthy food for them to get by during the week. And then just a few more things for choosing a camp that's not 100% gluten-free. I would highly recommend talking to the camp leadership and seeing if you can meet and speak with the kitchen staff themselves to see if you can come up with a game plan for how the food is prepared, how your camper is going to get food. Like, are all the meals served family style and your camper is going to have to feel kind of different and separate and alone picking up their gluten-free food versus, everyone kind of goes through the line and they can just pick up their gluten-free food like everyone else. And then large camp organizations like Girl Scouts or, that's just the first thing that comes to mind, may vary from site to site. If there's these large national summer camp organizations that, run a summer camp and they have 50 different sites in the state of California, say there's one site where it says we can, accommodate kids who need a gluten-free diet, that site might be able to accommodate kids who are celiac very safely, but the site 100 miles down the road might not be able to accommodate your camper. And so it's important to speak specifically with the actual site that you're sending your camper to, not just like the larger organization, because those larger organizations may also not, speak directly with the people who are on site at the facility where your camper is going to be attending. And back to Jennifer. You're muted.
Thank you so much, Molly. So how to find a camp? Several of the national organizations put out lists of celiac camps that they post annually. Some also include camps that are not 100% gluten-free, but can accommodate kids with celiac disease. And you can find more camps that are now accommodating just by Googling, or if there's a camp you're particularly interested in, of course, asking them directly. And that's it for the slides, Neha, if you want to go to Q&A.